This episode of Ty's Eye Help was brought to you by Full Sail University. What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be doing my review of the iPad Air. So first up, let's start with the design. They called it the iPad Air for a reason. This thing is really light and really thin. The iPad Air is pretty much the big brother to the iPad mini. It's got the exact same design, it's just bigger. But the iPad Air is actually smaller than the previous bigger iPads. The iPad Air is 9.4 inches tall, 6.6 inches wide, and only 0.29 inches thick. Compared to the iPad 3 and 4, which is 9.5 inches tall, 7.3 inches wide, and 0.37 inches thick. Now, even though it's smaller, the screen size is actually still the same. It's a 9.7 inch Retina display with a resolution of 2048 by 1536 at 264 pixels per inch. What they actually did was made the bezel or the glass around the screen smaller so they can make the iPad smaller. And now with the new size, the iPad Air only weighs 1 pound. Compared to the weight of the previous iPad 3 and 4, which weighed 1.4 pounds, that's a pretty good little decrease in weight. Since the new design is smaller, it makes it a lot easier to hold the iPad with two hands and type on the keyboard without having to hold it in one hand and type with the other. Now, another change to the design of the iPad Air is it actually has stereo speakers on the bottom, where the previous iPads had mono speakers on the bottom back. So now there's not just one mono speaker, there's actually two speakers on the bottom for left and right audio, which actually does make it sound better. The new design is great. I've told you guys before, I love the iPad mini's design, and now it's pretty much the iPad mini just with a bigger screen. It's super thin, it's got a really nice sleek look to it. The metal finish on the back is really nice. It feels great in your hands. It's lightweight. It's pretty much amazing. Now moving on to specs. The iPad Air has Apple's A7 64-bit chip running at 1.4 gigahertz, which actually makes the iPad Air 100 gigahertz faster than the iPhone 5S, even though it's the same chip. And of course, it also has Apple's M7 motion code processor. Pretty much what this means is the new iPad Air is faster and it can pretty much handle anything you throw at it, whether it's web browsing, gaming, movies. It can handle it all. The benchmarks actually show that the new iPad Air performs 2 times better than the previous iPad 4, and compared to the iPad 2 and 3, it performs 5 times better. That's a big difference. Moving on to cameras now, the front-facing camera is 1.2 megapixels and shoots 720p HD video. This is going to be great for all of your selfies or if you wanted to do like a FaceTime call. The back-facing camera is 5 megapixels and shoots 1080p HD video. Personally, I don't use the iPad to take pictures and video. Normally, I'll just pull out my phone because it's got a better camera and it's just easier and less awkward to hold. But if you want to, it will take great video, great pictures, whether you're using the front-facing camera or the back-facing camera. It'll do what you need it to do. Now, as far as software, the iPad Air is running iOS 7, which when it first came out, it took everybody a little bit to get used to, but now that it's out, I've used it for a while, I've got it on all my devices, it feels great, it's definitely a good operating system, it's easy to understand, easy to use. If you've used an iPhone or any other kind of Apple device before, you're probably going to understand it without any effort at all. It's just really nice, easy to use, and works. And with the new A7 and M7 chips, like I mentioned before, it runs really fast and really snappy on the iPad Air. Moving on to battery life, Apple says you're going to get 10 hours of battery life on the iPad Air, and I found that to be pretty accurate. I'm not really a heavy iPad user. Normally when I'm using it, I'm just like laying around the house, browsing the web, playing some games here and there, watching videos, that sort of thing. So for me, the battery life works great, but if you are a heavy iPad user and it's your go-to device and you use it all the time, the battery life's still going to be great for you. Most of the time, if I'm not using mine, it's plugged up to the charger, so my battery life is normally always at full. But yeah, this battery life should last you a long time. The standby time is ridiculous on it. It's going to be great. You shouldn't have any problems at all with battery. I personally haven't at all. And now let's talk about color, size, and pricing. The new iPad Air comes in 2 colors. There's a white/silver model, and then there's also the space gray model. My favorite of the 2 is the space gray. That's what I have in the iPad Air. I also have it in the iPad mini Retina 2. I just think it looks better than the white/silver option. Now, as far as size, the iPad Air comes in 16, 32, 64, and 128 gigabytes. And you can also choose whether you want the Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi/LTE model. And the starting price of the iPad Air is $500 for a 16 gigabyte Wi-Fi model, and depending on what you get, it goes up from there. Alright, so now it's time for my final thoughts and review of the iPad Air. I pretty much love the new iPad Air. Like I said before, I love the design. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's thinner, feels better in your hands, plus it's faster with the new chips. Pretty much everything in this iPad has been updated other than the screen and the front-facing camera. Other than that, it's pretty much different all around. You guys have asked me so many times, should I get the new iPad Air or should I get the new iPad Mini? And really, personally, though I love the iPad Air, I would say go with the new iPad Mini. I think the iPad Mini is the perfect size for a tablet. It's not too big, it's not too small, and if you are debating whether you should get it over the iPad Air, it is $100 cheaper. The only real difference between the two is just that the iPad Air has the bigger screen, so it's really what you prefer. Do you want the smaller screen but still kind of big, or do you want the big iPad Air screen? Personally, I would go with the iPad Mini. Now, if you have an old iPad like the iPad 2, 3, or 4, should you update to the iPad Air? Absolutely. Go ahead and sell your old iPad, get what you can for it, and pay the difference and get the new iPad Air. You won't regret it. It's going to be a lot faster than any of the other previous iPads that you've had. Plus, the fact that it's smaller and more lightweight just makes it even better. For me, the iPad Air and the bigger iPads is probably my least used Apple product, just because I've got everything else. I've got the laptop, I've got the iPhone, I've got the iPad Mini. So if I need to use something, I'm going to probably use one of those before I use the bigger iPad Air. But that doesn't mean it's bad though. I still like it. It's just I don't use it as often as I use the rest of it. But if I didn't have a laptop or a computer to go to, the iPad Air would probably be my go-to device. Who I really think the iPad is for is people who really just use the computer for basic stuff. Like if you check your email, browse the web, watch videos, that sort of thing, I would strongly suggest you checking into the iPad Air, trying it out a little bit at the Apple Store or whatever, because you may just find that you like the iPad Air better than using your laptop or your desktop computer. If you just do basic stuff, the iPad is pretty much going to do everything you want it to do, plus more, because it's got all the games and apps and stuff like that. You're probably going to love it, and you can take it pretty much anywhere with you where you wouldn't want to take a laptop or a gigantic desktop computer. So there you go, there's my review of the iPad Air. Now before we head out of here, let's take one last look at the sponsor for this video. You know that the mobile app industry is on fire right now, and Full Sail University's online mobile development bachelor's degree program can teach you the skill sets you need to take advantage of these emerging opportunities. In this degree, you'll learn both the programming and the business sides of mobile development, so you can concept, develop, deploy, and market an application from start to finish. You'll explore advanced programming languages, visual frameworks, usability principles, and app deployment for iOS and Android operating systems. Through Full Sail's Project Launchbox program, students receive a MacBook Pro preloaded with industry software and iOS and Android devices. The courses are delivered through Full Sail's online education platform, which maximizes the capability of the Mac, giving you a learning experience unlike any other. Between the App Store and Google's Play Store, over 50 billion apps have been downloaded with no signs of slowing down. So if you're ready to master the technology and the software that it takes to compete in this rapid growing industry, visit fullsail.edu/TIE to learn more about this online degree program. Again, that URL was fullsail.edu/TIE. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hopefully you did enjoy it, and if you did, click that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel right there so you don't miss any of my future tech videos. I got the iPad Mini Retina review coming soon, as well as lots of other tech stuff. So stay tuned and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.